This is Out Loud and Laughing.
What is up, chosen fam? Welcome back to the studio. Today, we are joined by a man who has spent over 40 years standing exactly where science meets the soul. He was on the front lines of the AIDS epidemic in San Francisco before many of us knew what was happening, and today he is a pioneer in integrative oncology, teaching the world that healing a person is about so much more than just treating a disease. He's an author, a legendary researcher, and quite frankly, the medical zaddy we all need in our corner. Please welcome the incredible Dr. Donald Abrams.
Thank you. Beautiful introduction. Hope I can live up.
I have no doubt in my mind that you will be living up to it. We're so excited to see you, and thank you for coming. Our chosen family is going to be so honored to hear your story, Dr. Abrams. We've been deep diving into your profound journey, and to me, it's really mind blowing. Right, you moved to San Francisco right around 1980, which is such a pivotal moment in queer history. Before we talk about the Dr. Abrams, who is a world renowned expert, tell us about the doctor who first arrived in the Bay Area back then. What was the vibe of your life then? And what did it feel like to be a young gay man in medicine during such a transformative and eventually tragic time?
Yeah, so I wasn't a doctor when I was arrived. I came from Brown University. I actually dropped out of their medical science program because they wanted to give me Brown's first MD in 150 years. And I said, no. After going to Europe with some friends, I said, I don't need to stay in Providence, Rhode Island for the rest of my life. So I applied to medical school and I got into Stanford. So that was nice. It wasn't San Francisco, it was Palo Alto.
Yep.
And yeah, as a young gay man, I my first gay experience was at age 18. So I was already sort of sophisticated in a way, and I knew San Francisco was where it was happening. So I recently went, believe it or not, to my 50th Stanford Medical School reunion, and
Congrats.
they had a little Friday night dinner at a place where they all used to go to on Friday nights. And when I asked my Stanford best girlfriend, well, how come I never went there? She said, you were always up in San Francisco cruising.
Touche.
Was right because, this was
Yeah.
1972, 73,
Yeah.
74. We didn't know about what we didn't know about. I was one of those, yeah, when people AIDS first hit us and people said, "These people had 1,100 sexual partners. How is that even possible?" I started to do sort of, in my head calculations saying, "Oh, well, who knows?"
Who was
Anyway,
keeping count?
What's
I
a
used to
number?
walk the dog a lot in Buena Vista Park, which was the place to be, yeah.
That's funny.
So, anyway, so it was quite liberating to be a young gay medical student in San Francisco, and then I became a young gay doctor at the Kaiser Hospital, when I graduated from Stanford, so I was in San Francisco then.
Very
Yeah.
cool. We have a lot of crossover there really quickly. I just wanted to interject. I spent a few years out in San Francisco proper, but then also I'm learning in real time about your Kaiser affiliation, and I loved it. What a great healthcare system. I used them for quite some time.
Yeah, I wanted to stay, being a doctor there, but they said, "Nope, we don't take people into the program who can't give to the program more than the program's given to them, so go out and do a fellowship." So that's how I fell into my hematology oncology fellowship at UC right at the beginning of the AIDS outbreak, 1980, 1981.
Dr. Ames, I have a question because obviously you're a doctor, you're very professional, you've done amazing things in your career, but you talked about moving to San Francisco before that and being just a gay man, right? And so obviously there was that fun part, but what was it like as things were starting to be learned around this new disease called AIDS? Not again, doctor aside, just as like a gay man, like there must have been a lot of fear in the community at that point.
Well, sure. I mean, we were dealing with a fatal illness and we were all in our youth, and it was young, beautiful people were dying and we didn't know what it was. And Paul Wolberding, who was my boss, who brought me to San Francisco General where the AIDS clinic was, he and I used to get on the phone and say, "Well, what do you think is this is? Is it the tanning salons or is it amoebas or is it, what is it?" Because we didn't know. And yeah, there was a time where I had purple spots on my hand. I just went to my friend Marcus Conant's 90th birthday. Marcus was our main AIDS dermatologist in San Francisco, and he just celebrated his 90th birthday last week, and everybody was supposed to tell a story, and I told the story about how I had purple spots on my hand, and I was working in the emergency room at Kaiser, and I called Marcus, who is on a weekend, and he said, "Come over, let me look at him." And so I went and he took a picture. And he said, if it's not better in a week, I'll come back and I'll do a biopsy. I was convinced I had Kaposi's sarcoma. My partner at the time was an Israeli ballet dancer who said, "Don't you carry around that liquid nitrogen in a bucket to collect lymph nodes? Did you spill some on your hand?" And that's what I had done. I had spilled liquid nitrogen on my hand, and it gave me these purple spots that I thought were Kaposi's sarcoma. But for a week,
In fear.
Certain
I was
fate.
in fear.
Yeah.
And then I had a partner who died of AIDS in 1989, and we were together for 3 years. This was prior to the availability of effective antiretroviral drugs. And I was, while he was getting ready to die, I started to see my psychiatrist again, who I had seen when I broke up with the Israeli ballet dancer. And I was really, I didn't want to get HIV tested until my partner was dead because I didn't want to blame him if I was positive. So my psychiatrist realized that this was something that was, bothering me. And so he said, "I'll draw your HIV test." And so that day when I went to see him, I was thinking that if I were positive, I might dye my hair blonde. I don't know how I came up with that thought, but I got to his office and he opens the door and he's looking at the floor and he says, "How are you?" And I said, "You tell me." And he said, "You're negative." So I said, "Okay, bye. I don't need you anymore."
What a relief.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was a difficult time and it had a lot of psychological implications for sure.
You've mentioned, doctor, that your interest in integrative medicine, though, and it actually stems from your time in the 80s, watching the community use everything from nutrition to alternative therapies where traditional medicine didn't have the answers yet. Was there a specific moment where you realized that being a good doctor meant looking at actually the whole person, mind, body, spirit, rather than just purely lab results?
Well, again, when I was dealing with men who were just like me, I wasn't just dealing with their Kaposi sarcoma lesion or their pneumocystis lungs. I was really dealing with the whole person. What really got me into integrative medicine was marijuana, not my use of it, but the fact that I was, sort of challenged to study cannabis as a treatment for the AIDS wasting syndrome in 1992. And I picked up the gauntlet and said, okay, I can do that. I went to Woodstock. So I fought the government for 5 years and ultimately got marijuana and $1 million to do research, which gave me a strong appreciation of the power of plants as medicine, which then took me to the Telluride Mushroom Festival in Telluride, Colorado, a month after I had done my first ever jury duty and came home and said, I want to go to law school. But in Telluride, I met Andrew Weil, the guru of integrative medicine, and he described the 2 year online distance learning fellowship you could do with his program at the University of Arizona. So I said, I don't want to go to law school. I want to do that. And I did, and that's what changed my life. When I finished, I said, I'm done with HIV/AIDS. I've done that for 25 years, and it's very different from what I started. So, what I want to do now is integrative oncology, working with people living with and beyond cancer and helping them to integrate these other modalities: nutrition, supplements, Chinese medicine, physical activity, stress reduction, and spirituality into their conventional cancer care.
I find it wildly interesting that, around some of your past, including actually conducting some of these first clinical trials and being this huge advocate for medical cannabis for as long as you have been. I mean, even before it was trendy or legal, right? Did you ever feel like you were putting your professional reputation on the line to fight for something the chosen fam and the patient community were telling you that they needed?
Yeah, so uh, my partner who died in 1989 didn't take AZT because I was very much against AZT as a single antiretroviral agent, but he smoked a lot of marijuana. And so when I got challenged in 1992 to study cannabis 3 years after he died, I said, well, maybe there's something to this. Maybe that's why he outlived three support groups. So I started to fight the government, and then one of my colleagues who is involved in the government told me that he was concerned that I was going to ruin my reputation if I continued to pursue this difficult challenge of trying to get marijuana from the government to study. So I was in the process of faxing Rick Doblin, the president of MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, who first spurred me on to do the research, telling him I was done. I wasn't going to do it anymore. But Clint, my husband now of 32 years, found that fax and said, "No, you're not. You're not sending that. You're going to do this." Clint Werner wrote the book Marijuana Gateway to Health: How Cannabis Protects Us from Cancer and Alzheimer's. So he's pretty much an advocate, and he wanted to push me to do this research. So I don't know if I sent the fax or not, but he still has it at home. He's writing my memoir now, and so that fax is a critical part of it because he feels he turned me around, so I would continue to pursue it.
Little divine intervention from your past partner.
I don't know if it's divine so much, but it's definitely
Yeah. I hear
Intervention,
that.
nonetheless. I mean,
uh,
if you fast forward, Dr. Abrams, and you've recently been involved with events like the Integrative Wellness event for cancer support sonoma, focusing on things like nutrition and medicinal, mushrooms. And for someone in the community who is feeling healthy but overwhelmed, by the stress of the world, what is one integrative habit you think is a non-negotiable for protecting your spirit, right? Outside of medicine?
Not watching the news. I mean, when I did my fellowship in 2003, Andy Weil said, "If you want to de-stress, stop watching news for 2 weeks." So for me, it's been 25 years or whatever. I mean, I do when I go to the gym, and their treadmill has a little TV, then I maybe catch the news with the closed captioning. But at home, we don't really even know how to work our television, to be honest. Since we got a smart TV, we don't actually know how to work it. All I ever watch is baseball and football, and I don't watch news. But I have a friend of mine who was one of my nurses when I did research, who we have lunch together. And last time we had lunch, he was going to see his PCP. And he showed me, he was very a little obsessive compulsive. He showed me a list of 15 symptoms that he had. And I said, "You know what? If you stop watching news," because he's very much into this, I said, "half of those are going to disappear."
It's true.
So,
People don't understand that the limbic system is like a real thing inside of our bodies, and keeping it like super hyperactivated is going to affect our sleep and other things. And
well,
I think that's
stress.
such and stress. Yeah, overall stress. You're right. That's
Stress
a
is adrenaline or epinephrine, which kills your lymphocytes, the building block cell of the immune system. Stress is cortisol, a steroid hormone, which is an immune suppressant. I think there's enough stress in the world without watching the news. But
lit-
it'll get to you if you need to know it, I'm sure.
literally putting science to the soul. I love that.
My husband, every morning when I wake up, he gives me a little, "Who died today?" Barney Frank died, I guess, just now. Yeah. One of the gay heroes. Yeah.
I would love to learn more about your husband, right? Because being in the gay community,
Have him
being
on the
married,
show.
being married for over 30 years, and especially in our community, I've been married for 10 this year.
Yeah.
John is seriously dating. So our community is starting to be more on the traditional path where we're with each other for long periods of time. And you're one of the poster people, I want to say, for that. So can you talk a little bit about how you met and what's kept you together for so long?
Well, we met one of our best friends, thought that we were both crazy, because we both like numbers and numerology and things like that. And we met. He introduced us, and we met. When we first met, I was a young gay doctor, and I had international travel, so I was bragging about my United flight miles. And he said, "How would you like to go see a total solar eclipse of the sun in the Atacama Desert of Chile?" An unusual request for a first date, but I said,
Yeah.
"Okay, let's go." So we went, and this was 1994, and we still didn't have any effective AIDS drugs. And it was getting to me at my work. And there we were in this Judean landscape, 14,000 feet up, in a place that's never seen rain, watching the moon slowly efface the surface of the sun to the point where all you saw was the dark side of the moon and the sun's energy radiating off of it as a corona. And I laughed, I cried, I screamed, we kissed. It was like looking into the eye of God, and it was nature's greatest spectacle. And it made me believe that in the midst of all this that was going on, that there had to be something behind it all, some reason, some. Plus, if the moon were 40 miles less in diameter, we would never get a total solar eclipse.
Isn't that
And
remarkable?
together in the last 30 years, we've now seen 20 total eclipses together. So
That's beautiful.
That's really special. You know, Brian brought up a good point about the marriage that exists today between you and your husband. I would also like to talk a little bit about sort of the shift of gay culture, similarly to, um, the way that. Sorry, can I start this question over, Brian?
Yeah.
Cut, 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 cut. Um, we have to talk about the shift in gay culture, though, because you lived through a time of extreme medical crisis, and now we live in a time where it's more of an optimized wellness, right? So, do you think we've lost some of that community care that defined the 80s and 90s, or are we just finding new ways to look out for one another?
that's a good question. That's sort of a sociologist question, and I'm a simple oncologist.
You-
A simple oncologist.
well,
Yeah,
how about bedside manner between physicians and their patients? Has that
yeah, no,
sort
but
of
I
changed?
mean, to answer your question, the epidemic, the AIDS really did bring the community together. When we look at the New York response compared to the San Francisco response, I always say that San Francisco is very a gay dominated city, and AIDS was our problem. New York had so many other problems that it was just one problem. And that's why, we as a community, we built Ward 86 and Ward 5A and all the places where AIDS patients got really exemplary care. And it brought the whole community together. Now, I think, as you mentioned, there is a little bit more fragmentation and perhaps less of a feeling of community. I don't know.
All right, Dr. Abrams, we can honestly learn from you all day. But on this podcast, Out Loud and Laughing, we do have a ritual that you're gonna play. We need to get out of the clinic and into the hot seat. It's time for this or that. We're calling it the Integrative Icon Edition. So we give you two options, no overthinking. Just tell us the first thing that you react to, which one you pick, and tell us why. Are you ready?
I guess so.
It's time for another round of this or that, the unhinged get to know you game.
Do you prefer a vigorous hike or a quiet meditation?
A vigorous hike with my walking stick. So at this age, I need my sticks for stability.
Where do you go?
Any place. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was just in Sedona with one of my dear old friends. It's so beautiful,
it's
very
so
magic.
beautiful there.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of nature, of being a great healer to a lot of those things. Um, are you into a printed book or the electronic copy?
Printed. Yeah, the electronic copy, it gives you blue light, and I like to read before I go to sleep at night, and blue light turns off our melatonin. That's why we have a blue sky so we can be awake. And I love to turn pages, and yeah, printed book, definitely.
The smell too of a book. I
I
don't know.
know.
I something
I
about it.
don't smell my book so much. Yeah.
Feeling of paper, the feeling of paper. Yeah, for
Well, I'm a
sure.
little weird. Okay, Dr. Abrams, this one's our gay question we ask all of our men. Do we prefer scruff or no scruff?
It depends.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how one looks with it. My husband, now that he's sort of more gray white, his scruff is makes him ages him quite a bit. So clean shaven is good. Some of the younger men's at the gym, I notice scruff isn't so bad, but
yeah.
Oh, Dr. Abrams, proving you're still a man. I love it. I'm here for it. Are you here for the hard science though, or the intuitive healing?
I think intuitive healing. Now that I'm retired, I'm sort of veering away from hard science.
It's true. Okay, this one always gets a very visceral reaction, Dr. Abrams. Do you prefer a shower or a bath?
Shower. Yeah, I don't
See,
like to sit in my dirt. Yeah.
people are always quick to answer this one.
Yeah,
They really are. And you said you don't like to stew in your own soup. Is that what you said?
yeah. I don't
That's
like to.
funny. Okay, last one. Would you rather be remembered for your research or for your heart?
Mm, can I have a combination of both?
I
Yeah.
think you have. I think your whole entire journey shows exactly that.
I agree.
Dr. Abrams, this has been such a gift to us. Thank you for your decades of hard work you've done for our
Yes,
community and
thank
for
you.
being such a light for those navigating their darkest days. Thank you for listening, Chosen Fam. Stay healthy, stay loud, and keep laughing. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Dr. Abrams.
My pleasure.
This was Out Loud and Laughing.
We're available everywhere you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, iHeart, or wherever.